So what if an heir is being uncooperative? Hey guys, it's Brad from GeorgiaProbateResource.com. We're a real estate solutions company in Metro Atlanta, but we buy houses all over the state of Georgia, and we specialize in the world of probate and inheritance properties. So again, what if an heir is being uncooperative? This happens a lot more than you might think. We deal with it day in and day out. And a lot of times an heir is being uncooperative, most of the time because of financial reasons. Other times they might be uncooperative because there's some sort of like family drama. Maybe there's some past pain. Maybe there's some infighting in the family. And sometimes it's because the heir doesn't trust the person in charge. We had an instance a few years ago of an estate where this gentleman died. He had a daughter, a biological daughter, and then he had two, I wouldn't even call them stepdaughters because he wasn't, he was dating this woman who had two daughters, and he sort of treated them like his own daughters. And he even named them in the will as heirs, even though they were not his biological daughters, and they were not his daughters by, like, legally by marriage, right? So, and the crazy part about this entire estate was that these two daughters that he treated like his own daughters did not trust his biological daughter at all. Didn't trust her with a 10-foot pole. And the crazy part was ultimately she ended up screwing us out of money because me, out of the kindness of my heart, I paid to put her and her husband and her son in a hotel room for like a month because there was an issue with the house, and Defects was going to take the kids, and I was just trying to be kind, and it was Christmas time, and I paid for them to be in a hotel. It was $3,000 in hotel bills, and me and an employee of mine went to the house. We cleaned out the house for them so that they could move back in because the house was just filthy and they didn't clean it up. So we went over there, cleaned it out, got everything working, got them moved back in, and then she ultimately sold the house behind my back to another investor who bought it from her. And just screwed me out of $3,000 or $4,000. Crazy. Lesson learned on my part. Sometimes I'm just a little too nice. Her sisters did not trust her. And rightfully so. I found out that she was a snake, right? But we had to resolve that situation and provide some alternatives to them so that she could build a trust, because the other solution, and remember this, and sometimes it has to come to this, but just remember, is if you and the family can't get along, ultimately what's going to happen is the court is going to appoint an administrator of the estate or appoint someone else to be in charge. And that's going to, A, make the process drag out a heck of a lot longer. B, it's going to cost you more money. And C, it's just going to be a big pain in the rear end. So if you can resolve your issues up front, try to do that. So if you check out our website, we've got some helpful tips from some licensed counselors who can sort of help you, give you some coping mechanisms on how to communicate with these people. Some people are just stubborn and you're never going to be able to communicate with them. But I'm going to give you a little tip here. Okay. See if you can figure out what's really bothering them. And I know that sounds crazy, right? It's not usually about the thing that they're mad about. It's usually about something else. For instance, like, let's say I'm married, I have a wife, and sometimes we're like fighting over something silly and stupid. And my wife's not really mad at me about that thing. She's mad at me about something else. And that's the trigger. So see if in the same situation where families are fighting over something, things are very emotional, and then you get money involved and it becomes just crazy. Figure out what that other thing is. Maybe they haven't forgiven you for some crazy thing, and maybe you need to try to resolve that issue, and that might solve the problem. Maybe there's just some mistrust about whether you're capable of doing the job. Maybe you haven't demonstrated to the family that you haven't done the job. Maybe they're jealous of you because you got preferential treatment as a child over X, Y, and Z. See if you can figure out that root cause of whatever that is, and see if you can come to some sort of resolution, or provide alternatives to that problem. For instance, that situation I was telling you about with the sisters, the other sister didn't trust the one sister that was named the executor in the will, she was afraid she was going to run away with all the money. So what we offered to them to do was we spoke to a bank, I can't remember which, it was one of the big banks, and said, hey, can we set up an estate account where there's multiple signers on the bank account where the executor has to sign and someone else has to sign before any money can be removed from the account? And the lady at the bank said, yeah, absolutely, no problem. So basically what we suggested to them was have her, the executor, be one of the signers and have the one sister that doesn't trust the other half sister or whatever they were to be the other signer. That way she felt like the money couldn't be taken out of the account unless she signed off on it too. And that was ultimately a great resolution to that problem. So there's a lot of creative ways to resolve some of these issues, but the number one thing is you got to figure out what that issue is at hand, what the real problem is, and try to focus on that real problem and solve the real problem. And then this problem over here might work itself out because you've actually fixed the root cause as to why they're being a pain in the butt. So I hope this tip helps you. Again, what if an heir is being uncooperative? Ultimately, at the end of the day, the final solution is the court's going to say what to do. And you guys need to decide whether you're going to let it get to that point where the court is going to decide that for you. Sometimes that's the only way. Sometimes you're going to have to seek counsel and you're going to have to fight over things legally. And unfortunately, that never works out for either party. The only person that situation works out for is the attorneys, and it makes them more money because you're paying them to basically mediate between the two of you. So if at all possible, see if you guys can resolve your differences or whatever the problem is amicably without getting the law involved, without getting attorneys involved, because in the end, nobody wins when it gets to that. So don't let it get to that point. So I hope this video helps. Again, what if an heir is uncooperative? Again, I'm Brad with GeorgiaProbateResource.com. If you have a house that you want to sell, you just want a fast, easy cash offer on it, you don't want to mess with it, you want to sell it with all the junk in it, we'd love to make you an offer on the house. Or if you want to go the traditional route and list it with a real estate agent, get top dollar for that property, I'd love to talk to you about that as well, because I'm actually also a licensed agent with One Source in Woodstock. Be happy to talk to you about listing the property. So I hope this video was helpful today. Thanks again for your time. Again, I'm Brad with GeorgiaProbateResource.com. Hope you have a nice day. Bye-bye.